Good morning, welcome back to another video. It's race day today, and the reason why we're just picking the camera up now is because we've been on a really nice weekend with one of our friends. Because the event is not actually here, it's like an hour and a half drive away in Sidmouth. But yesterday I had a really fun day down the beach, supping for the first time. Insert clip here, you can see me having some absolute awesome skills, and I feel like I want to buy one of those things now. We had some great food, we had a nice time, and it was just a generally nice day, considering the weather has been so good recently, and we might not ever get weather like that again this year. And speaking of, you can probably hear the rain actually, or at least see it there on the windscreen. Right, I'm gonna leave now and I drink my coffee en route. I've had a little bowl of cereal for breakfast. Apart from doing some supping yesterday and a little bit of walking, I didn't really do anything else. I just tried to relax, take my mind off of the race today, which has meant that this morning it's kind of all come flooding in, like all the thoughts about the race. Like last night when I was lying in bed, I really struggled. I had a really bad night's sleep last night actually, for the first time in ages. And Charlie actually woke up because she was too hot. I was too hot. Then I was like drifting in and out of sleep. But it happens. Yeah, just try not to let it get to me. Focus on the race now. Try not to let anxiety get to me. Have a good warm up and then crack on. So yeah, let's get over there. Just like last time, I've parked on the hill because there's free parking until 10 AM, and the hill climb starts at 9:30, well, for me anyway. And there's a pretty epic view from here, I'm not gonna lie. Check this out. Not a bad venue for a hill climb. In fact, the National Hill Climb Championships was here in the early 2000s, I want to say, and that's when the course record was set by, I think it was James Dobbin, I might be wrong, correct me if I am, with a 4:44. That is quick. Aero socks on a hill climb. Committed. Okay folks, I'm probably going to keep this video short because because I've been away this weekend, I haven't really had a chance to get in the zone, and I want to kind of do that now over the next hour and a half. And I just want to talk to you while I'm getting ready. It'll be easier than, like, I don't know, trying to make things fancy and like telling the story or whatever. But we'll get into the POV of the actual effort in a minute, but I want to just quickly lay like the groundwork for what's coming up. So I'll talk you through my effort plan, and if that worked out during the footage you'll see in a second. But just to give you a brief overview, when I did this climb last, I averaged 455 watts, I think it was, for 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Is that I want to try and go faster than that 5 minutes and 10 seconds. So that could be 5 minutes. Last week on a 4.5 minute climb, I actually went like 4 or 5 seconds faster. So I think I'm fairly confident I could do more power on this climb than I did the last time I did it, mainly because I'm in better shape. But I'm also thinking that maybe I just wasn't like in the best place the last time I did this hill climb. I had to drive like 3 hours down here before the hill climb, and all these things add up. So I feel like I'm more prepared this time for this one, even though technically all these hill climbs are just like training hill climbs. You know, they're all just good preparation for well, your big goal really. So first and foremost, try and go faster than 5 minutes and 10 seconds. My second goal is to do more power, which would obviously equate to a faster time, hopefully. And then I want to have a good execution of the race plan, which I will talk to you about during the POV. Without further ado, let's get into it, and I hope you enjoy this hill climb footage.
Good luck. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. Good luck, Ed.
Cheers, bud, you too.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Have a good one.
Okay, here we are, getting ready for the hill climb, and I've pressed the camera to record and everything's set up and ready to go, and then this happens, and when I'm looking at the footage back, and I'm like this because I realised that I put the camera in the wrong place, and it's now pointing down. And the reason why I changed the position was because I thought last time you didn't want to see my chin as much because the camera was a little bit higher up, and now you can't see anything. It's just looking at the handlebars and my power meter. So that's why we're here, and we're talking about it like this, with a talking head. But I'm still going to do my best to try and talk you through the effort, because we've still got footage, it's just not the footage we wanted. So we head off along the seafront, and I'm going to try and draw some comparisons between last year when I did this and this year. I went marginally faster this year in much less favourable conditions. Oh, and I do want to point out as well that I had a front wheel puncture on this wheel that I'm running here. Thankfully, the very small amount of sealant that's in there actually sealed it, even though it was wet and there's very little inertia with the wheel, it's still sealed. So I was very impressed with that, and thankfully we were able to run, although a slightly lower pressure, we managed to ride the race wheel anyway. Now you can see by the floor, because of the camera angle, just how many leaves there are, how wet it is, and it's a real shame because the day before, like you saw with me out on that paddleboard, it was lovely. It's just a shame the weather couldn't have held out just for this one more morning. So I set out, and this climb is strange because it overall the average gradient is not that big. It's like 9-10% average. But it's really the section under the trees where you get to like 15 to 20% for around 300-400 meters, and it takes you that's where you spend most of your time on the climb. So that's also the place where I wanted to make sure that I would really dig in the most. So this first section on this straight section of road that's running parallel to the seafront, which is really cool by the way, I tried to make sure that I was seated, I was controlled, and my game plan was to ride this first flat section, which is roughly the first minute, at 400 watts, and then sort of gradually ride myself into the climb. So as the gradient gets steeper, I gradually improve or put down more power. However, because of how the conditions were, and this is why I think the biggest positive from this day is that I was able to go just slightly faster, a couple of seconds faster than I did last year, but in a slight headwind and in conditions where I wasn't able to stand or get up the saddle as much as I wanted to. So if you look at last year's power profile, it's very similar. In fact, I only do about 10-ish, 10, 12, 13 watts more this time than last time. Although when you're talking about, you know, marginals, that's quite a lot of power at the end of the day. I'm not able to get up the saddle as much as I want to. I spend almost all of that section last year, like a minute and a half or just over a minute out of the saddle, pushing 460 watts and like really sort of getting on top of the gear. This time though, I'm staying in the saddle for a lot longer. And I'm being forced to in a way, because on a couple of my trial runs up the climb, I wasn't able to stand even at 300 watts without there being some tyre slippage. Now I did leave a little bit of pressure at the tyre, still wasn't enough. You know, the problem is when it's been so hot and then you get like rain, especially when it's under the trees, then there's leaves and things, you go in and out of traction. So you know how it is, it's really difficult. So I stayed seated to try and nullify that, and I was still able to hold on to like 460, 470 watts. But this climb is slightly longer than last week's, you know, it's like 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute longer. And when you're talking about 10 watts, like doing 10 watts more for an extra minute, that's when you really notice it. Like, you might think 10 watts is nothing, but if you try and hold it for a minute longer, it feels like the end of the world. And so I'm cresting over the top, or not over the top, but over the steep section into the sort of the section where it starts to level off a little bit. I go past Charlie and a friend, and that's when I decide to get out of the saddle. Because the gradient is not so severe, and I know that if I lose a little bit of momentum, it's not going to be as much as when it was on the steep section, and I'm only doing like, you know, 8-7 mile an hour. Come around the last bit of the climb, and I'm catching riders, it feels good. And you come around the last bit and it levels off a lot, and I was just like desperately trying to get to the finish line as fast as I possibly could. But in terms of overall effort, I definitely produced like a better effort than I did last year. I think to highlight a few things, I was able to ride her about 15 watts more for the 4-minute bulk section of the climb. I also equaled my best ever 5-minute power in terms of normalized. So obviously that first section, that first minute of 400 watts, you have to take that into account as well. So I managed to sort of negative split. So, you know, riding easy at the start and harder at the end, which is quite hard to do on a short effort. But even doing that, I was still able to match my best ever 5-minute power when I've just gone all out from start to finish. So very happy with that effort. Like, again, I'm so sorry about the footage. That's why I wanted to talk over it and give you a little bit of context. Hopefully I'll get a little bit more practice in with that camera, and we won't have this problem again. So again, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Your support is really appreciated, and I feel like I'm in a good place right now, mentally and physically, and I'm just enjoying what I'm doing right now. And I hope it's coming across in the videos. I hope it's rubbing off in some way, and I hope maybe we can bump into each other at some hill climbs in the future, like I'm doing already. So I will see you in the next video. No more rain, hopefully. I'll see you then.